on the Rock, giving that sermon here in a seafaring community where everybody knows nobody'd be that dumb. They all get the metaphor. But because Ephraim Spooner successfully weaves ideas that really belong in the American Revolution, that the group of patriots hearing this sermon are inspired by it, they insist on getting it printed. And we must not underestimate the social media of the 18th century. This thing goes from press to pulpit to town meeting to get nailed up on liberty poles. And Massachusetts, already a rising hotbed of resentment for the British Empire, the sermon only fans those flames. And we know what sometimes happens when metaphors escape their original context. This one escapes, and it gets up into Boston, where there were artists. And if you're an artist up in Boston, are you going to make a painting of pilgrims dragging a boat up onto the beach, which is what they say they did, or a dramatic scene of a pilgrim stepping from boat to boulder? And once it got into Boston, we were all doomed. And we've all grown up with stories, pictures, statues, songs, pilgrims stepping on Plymouth Rock. The fact that it didn't happen doesn't really matter that much, because it will have a profound effect on the Rock. That's what's going to ignite interest in the Rock, to the extent that the Sons of Liberty are going to try to move it. When they move it, they're going to break it. But their response to that accident is that they'll see that symbolically as Massachusetts breaking away from the British Empire. Beautiful spin. People love the idea. The top piece becomes the cool Massachusetts Rock. The bottom piece, not so cool. Not so cool gets buried on the spot. The top goes up to town square. Soldiers are recruited. The war is won. People of the new United States will identify with this divided symbol. It's like us. It broke away from something bigger than itself, and it foreshadowed our victory, which is how and why Plymouth Rock will be adopted as one of our very oldest national symbols. But as I may have mentioned to some who came here earlier, by the end of the American Civil War, for the people of the North, having just sacrificed the lives of over 150,000 men to restore the Union, they do not find a divided symbol speaks to them and their experience. So they're going to want to reunite the Rock, just as the country was reunited, which is why starting in 1866, at the site of the long neglected Lower Boulder, a small monument will begin. That'll be complete in 1880, with the Upper Rock joining it in there. That's when it gets stamped with 1620. And there we can see a second generation changing the national symbol to suit their experience. And we can see a similar thing happening here in 1920, when people wanted to celebrate the 300th anniversary of the oldest English town in the United States. Jamestown doesn't get to count because they got abandoned. So being the first town to reach 300, that was of English origin, was a big deal to the people here. They wanted to welcome the world. And so the Pilgrim Commission bought all the land on the waterfront, demolished all the buildings and structures that were here, brought in all this artificial terrain, and installed the Rock in this Greek-style portico. And we can see that that generation was also reflecting a lot about themselves. If you were here in 1920, you might, as many people, see the Pilgrims as a symbol of triumph over adversity, based on their survival of the first winter. And if you were here that year, you probably would be someone who has triumphed over adversity. Yours